Hi, all, and welcome back to the Simplicity series. Today is not so simple. So I want to go over something very intricate, but so important. And the reason I want to show you this is because the Bible speaks to many different levels at the same time. And this spoke to me personally when I was a baby Christian. I mean, like baby. I get dreams, and I had a dream that I was lost and wandering around the earth, and I just wanted to find my home. I was looking for home, and I stumbled upon a bus stop, and I asked the driver. I said, "Driver, where are you going, and how much does it cost to get there?" And he said, "Well, it's 7 cents to ride this bus." And at that point, I really didn't care where the bus was going, but I looked in my pocket and I only had 6 pennies. So I asked the driver, I said, "I only have 6 pennies, but can I go?" He let me on the bus, but I was not able to get off the bus. That bus took me to a city of heaven, and I got to see it, but from the bus. So when I woke up, I asked God, what did that mean? And I knew I had to search 7. So the first thing I found were these 7 churches. So God was speaking to me personally to look at each and every church and see what he had to say. So here we go. The book of Revelations is a blessing to read and understand. Please do not be scared of the book of Revelations. It's a prophetic nature. It's saying things that are going to happen in the future, but it's giving you the insight that you will not suffer and that you will have faith and you will be saved. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of this because it's quite large. And if you have a chance, can you please stop the video and read chapter 2 and 3 of the book of Revelations? It's not scary. I promise you. Jesus is talking to these 7 churches. So please read this. The church began at Pentecost. This can be found in Acts, the book 2 on, and the book of Acts will give you the whole history of the church, of the early church. So please read, and read again. Now, Jesus is talking to the church of Ephesus, and he's saying to them, "You're doing great. You're patient. Your works are good, but you forgot your first love." That can be found 2 to 4. So Jesus is telling them, don't lose your first love. He's telling you, don't lose your first love. And he's telling the church of all time, because I want you to also see this as church history, because as we go through each church, you're going to see a church period in our history. Smyrna is the persecuted church. They were severely persecuted by the Romans. Horrible things were going on then. The Romans wanted them to bow down to the Caesar, worship their gods, and they were pushing back and saying, "No, we're not going to worship your gods." So of course the Romans killed them, burned them, did all kinds of nasty things to them. So Jesus is telling them, I see that you're going through it. I see that you're going through poverty. They are giving you, he calls them the synagogue of Satan because it's a horrible situation, but he tells them, just keep faith and keep moving. There's always salvation. It may not be in this life. Okay, it's basically, don't be fearful of who can kill your body only. Fear him who can kill your body and your soul. Okay. The next church, Pergamum. Pergamum is the beginning of the press from the world. He's telling them, I know that you are in the seat of Satan. Okay, you are holding fast to my name. There's martyrs going on. We're looking in 13. There's martyrs. There's persecution is continuing, but you're going to be pushed to compromise from the outside. Have a few things against you. You're tolerating those. I love this right here. Because thou hast them there that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the church of Israel. Read the story of Balaam and Balak. It's in Numbers. It's the story where the king Balak tells Balaam the prophet to curse on Israel, but he can't do it. So it's the donkey, where the donkey tells him in the road, you know, that nursery story, that the donkey, you know, there's an angel of the Lord, and Balaam doesn't see it. Great story. Kids love it. Balak wants, but he tells them, get your pretty girls and they will seduce the men, and God will curse them because they're going to be in sin. So this is Pergamum, the press on for the compromise. Okay, now we go to the church of Thyatira. Thyatira, I know your works, your charity, your service, and your faith and patience, and that is wonderful. But I have a few things against you. You suffer as the woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit fornication and eat things sacrificed to idols. You can find the story of Jezebel. I want to say it's Chronicles, might be Kings. But anyway, everybody knows the story of Ahab and Jezebel. Jezebel's the evil queen who kills all the prophets, but she's symbolic of spirit, the spirit of Jezebel. It's said in the end, they will be lovers of self, lovers of money, and lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. That's the spirit that embodies that self, pleasure, and money. So she's rampant, and she's rampant in the church. That's the thing about the Jezebel spirit. It attacks the church and it attacks the prophets. So we have, just to summarize, losing the first love in Ephesians. We have persecution in Smyrna. We have compromise from the outside, hard press, you know, kind of like the persecution and the people's dealing with the persecution as they start to compromise a little bit. Then you got Thyatira, you got full on press, compromise, inside, outside, and all around. Now the church of Sardis is what Jesus calls the dead church. Let's go to 3. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain. They that are ready to die, I have found thy works not perfect before God. So Sardis is dead. Sardis is, you know, there's nothing left. It's just men doing men things. Philadelphia is the Reformation church. It's the church of love. Philadelphia means love, brotherly love. I know thy works before I have set thee an open door, and no man can shut it, for thou hast little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. So this church is, it's sort of a wake up. It's a wake up in the middle of a dying church, dead church that has a moment of epiphany of waking up to Jesus. Laodicea is the lukewarm church. It's the church that has a form of godliness, but no power of God. It's Jesus on the outside. There's no Jesus in this church. It's about the pastor, about the programs, about a form of godliness, but Jesus is knocking at the door. Look at here in, let's see, Revelations 3:20. I stand at the door and knock, and if any man hears my voice and opens the door, I will come to him, and I will sup with him, and he with me. So Jesus is on the outside of this church. So now let's look at really briefly church history. I would want you to think about the timeline of the church. The church began at Pentecost. It had power and might, and it spread. This is Turkey. This is Asia Minor, and it spread like wildfire. It's just imagine Jesus healed the guy in Gadarenes. He had like demons, like thousands and thousands of demons. This guy went and he planted churches. He went out and he spread the word. He's like, hey, I was that man in the tombs, and look at me now, Jesus, what he did. So, it wasn't just the disciples that were planting churches. It was the blind man that could now see. It was the lame man at the pool of Bethesda. All of a sudden, Jesus boomed, right? The church boomed. Okay, now Smyrna, it started persecute. People with the Romans. This was the church was in the time of the Romans, and the Romans demanded that people bow down to Rome, to the Caesar. So this is church history, but we're also getting a glimpse of what it's going to look like in the future with the Antichrist, because this is going to happen again. And it may happen soon. Anyway, then there's the compromise. Do you compromise? How do you get by? How do you eat when there's a pressure on the outside? The Church of Thyatira is beginning of Constantine. Constantine married the pagan religion with Christianity. This was the killer. This is what's going to create the dead church, because at least when there was persecution, there was a group together that was fighting against the persecutors. But when they compromised, the full press compromised, and they took the pagan religion and they merged it and married it with the Christian religion, this created the dead church. This is the period of the Inquisitions, and that lasted a long time. The men who said that they were rulers of the church, said they were infallible, said they were God, that they were. So it's in essence, man set up a system where man was God. I mean, that's kind of the same thing, right? Satan was thrown out of heaven because he wanted to be God. So you see what's going on here? Philadelphia, this is the time of Reformation. Remember Martin Luther and his predecessors, that they were like, this isn't right. How can you sell indulgences and look at the wealth and the pomp and the unfairness of what they're doing? So Philadelphia is the Reformation church. It's when the Protestant movement started. Actually, Martin Luther didn't want to separate. He wanted the church of the Catholics to reform and to improve. But anyway, there was a separation. So that's the time period of the Philadelphia church. Now we live in the Laodicean church. We live in the church that is without Jesus, without the form of godliness, but without God. So, friends, we have a look here at Bible beauty. We got individual churches that Jesus is talking to. He's got individual churches of your own personal life, because we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So Jesus is talking to each one of us individually about each one of these things. We're seeing church history from our past, and we're seeing church history in the future. So the Bible, woohoo, is awesome. Read it, study it, and be amazed. All right, we'll see you next time.